This path is for public use. You have no right to put a locked shed here.
We believe we do. We're happy to discuss it, but it's not going anywhere.
At 4:27 a.m. on May 3, 2024, red and blue lights splashed across my bedroom wall, and the cold air smelled like wet asphalt when I opened my front door to a deputy asking why I was trespassing on my own lakeside path. I blinked like I was still dreaming. Behind him, two HOA board members stood in puff jackets with steaming coffee cups, acting brave in the dark. Karen-in-Chief, Linda, pointed past my mailbox like she was directing traffic. They said the path to the lake was now closed for community safety. Then I saw it. A brand new shed sat right across my lake easement like a fat joke, and a shiny padlock hung from a chain on the gate. The metal clinked in the wind, and my stomach dropped. This is the story of HOA built a shed across my lake easement and padlocked the path, had no idea I am their code director. By 9:00 a.m., I was at the clubhouse office with my deed, my survey, and a calm voice I had to force out of my face. I tried being nice first. I even said please twice. Linda did that tight smile that says she already made up her mind. She told me the board voted, and votes are final. She said the shed was for lake tools and the lock was for liability. I asked to see the vote record and the permit. She slid a blank form toward me like that was an answer. Two neighbors were there too, but they stared at their shoes like I had asked them to pick a side in a war. One whispered sorry and walked out fast. The board acted like I was the problem for wanting to walk where my papers said I could. That afternoon, I stood at the padlock again, hands shoved in my pockets, listening to the lake slap the shore behind the shed like it was laughing at me. I felt angry, but also kind of amazed at the confidence it takes to block someone's easement and call the police on them for existing. My line in the sand was simple: I would not touch that lock. I would not shove the shed. I would do this by the book, so clean it could be framed. I drove home, made strong coffee, and started building my case. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. I made sure every date and time was written in thick black marker, because I already knew they were going to pretend they forgot everything. The next morning, I filed a public records request with the county for permits, site plans, HOA complaints, and any calls tied to my address. When the file landed with 63 pages, I laughed out loud, the kind of laugh that scares your own dog. There it was: no permit for a shed, no approval for a gate, and a little trail of emails where Linda called my easement a loophole. I started writing it out like I was doing homework. Timeline item 1 April 5 at 4:27 a.m. false trespass call. Timeline item 2 April 18 at 7:12 p.m. complaint about my canoe. Timeline item 3 May 3 at 4:27 a.m. police at my door. Then I typed one sentence in my notes like a warning label: patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. Here's the part they didn't know, because I keep my work quiet on purpose. I'm the county's code director. I don't wear a badge or a cape. I wear a lanyard and a tired face. I also know how enforcement works when you do it right. So I didn't call in favors. I didn't even tell my staff at first. I submitted an inspection request through the regular portal, like any resident can, and I attached the public records pages in my survey. Then I waited. On May 9, 2024, at 2:15 p.m., an inspector I didn't supervise directly showed up with a measuring wheel and a neutral stare. Linda rushed out with a clipboard, talking fast. He measured the encroachment, checked the file, and asked for the permit. Linda said the HOA doesn't need permits on HOA land. He paused and said the easement is not optional. By the weekend, the whole neighborhood felt like it was holding its breath. People who never wave suddenly waved. A teen rode by on a bike and slowed down to stare at the shed like it was a crime scene. On May 12, at 6:40 p.m., the inspector posted a bright notice on the shed door. Someone filmed it from a porch and the video hit our local Facebook group within an hour. The comments were savage in that polite suburban way. So the HOA built a shed on an easement? Bold. Linda really called the cops at 4:27 a.m.? Unhinged. Even better, the notice listed fines, $250 per day until compliance. By May 15, the HOA had racked up $1,000 in just 4 days, and the board started sending panicked emails asking residents for patience and prayers like prayers remove plywood. The big flip happened at the next board meeting on May 18, 2024, at 7:00 p.m. The room was packed, and you could smell cheap cologne, carpet cleaner, and popcorn because someone actually brought popcorn like this was a show. Linda stood at the front trying to act calm, but her hands shook when she flipped pages. I raised mine and said I'd like to speak. She sighed like I was a mosquito. I walked up with my binder and asked one simple question: where is the shed permit? She started to answer with her usual power voice, and that's when the county inspector stepped in, because he had been invited as a neutral official. He explained the violation, the easement blockage, and the daily fine. Then I calmly added that I'd also documented 3 false reports tied to the board's actions. The room went quiet, then someone snorted, then half the crowd started whispering. A neighbor behind me said, "Wait, aren't you?" and I nodded once. Linda's face went pale when she realized who I was. Not because I could hurt her. Because she finally understood the rules don't bend just because she likes the sound of her own gavel. 2 days later, the HOA hired a contractor. On May 20, 2024, at 8:10 a.m., the shed was lifted, rolled back off the easement, and set where it should have been in the first place. The padlock came off, and the chain hit the ground with a sad little rattle. The board also sent a letter saying the trespass calls were a misunderstanding. Funny how misunderstandings stop when there's a paper trail. Linda resigned the next month, and the HOA paid the fines plus a survey correction that cost them $3,800. I didn't celebrate with fireworks. I celebrated by walking the path at sunset, hearing the frogs, watching the lake turn gold, and waving at the neighbors who finally waved back without fear. Please follow for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.